blackmailing, billeting, and the fake promises. The most recent ones we've heard about is players trying to be seduced by their billet families. There's a lot of things that happen in hockey that get slipped under the radar. Here's another video about the hush-hush culture in hockey. The first thing that gets slipped under the rug is bad billeting. And unfortunately, there are some organizations that have bad billeting. And that's for a numerous amount of reasons, right? The family passed the background check, they swept everything under the rug, and they passed the team's test without knowing their true colors. The team didn't investigate them enough. The team didn't follow up with situations or took the issues lightly. There's a whole range of reasons why some teams have bad billets, but unfortunately that impacts the players. There are plenty of examples out there. The most recent ones we've heard about is players trying to be seduced by their billet families. And yes, that happens. There are some billet families, single parents that have a little too much to drink and they come back and they have a young hockey player in the home, and the conversation escalates to a point that it shouldn't. We have heard about numerous cases like that. We've heard numerous cases where the player comes home from practice and the ground rules are set where he is expected to cook for himself, and that's perfectly fine. And when he goes to cook, there is no food in the house. There is nothing for him, not even eggs. So he cannot eat properly. Malnutrition, he's malnourished, and he can't perform at the level he's expected to perform. Players coming home and the billet family has had a little too much to drink, whether that's wine, liquor, beer, whatever it may be. They are not adequate to take care of him, not a proper example, none of that. And it's one thing to have a drink here or there, or you have a night here or there, that's perfectly fine. But when it's happening on a daily occurrence, a couple times a week, that is a problem. Remember that a player, when he is billeted in your home, you are expected to take care of him as a family. You are expected to be there as a line of support, since they are away from home and their parents are not there daily with them, watching over them, making sure they're okay. Now, of course, you're not going to hold this person's hand. You're trying to make them develop and grow as a person. You don't have to wake him up for school. He is expected to grow up a little bit. However, he's got to be provided some sort of support. So when you're looking at junior programs and when you're looking at where you're going to play next year, ask to meet with the billet coordinator, who that person is, how well they handle their job. Try to talk to a family who's been there before. This way you have a reference. How well is my son going to be taken care of in this program next year? Ask about their process of vetting families. Is it just a simple background check? Oh, there's no legal issues, we're good to go? Do they do test runs for players? Have they had bad experiences, complaints with this family? Ask for a test run. Let your child go stay there for 2 weeks for training camp in the summer. Something along those lines. This way you have a better understanding. That honeymoon phase is the phase where your family shows up, meets the parents. They usually stay for about a week when they drop off to the beginning of the season, and everything's fine and dandy and you fall in love with this family. But then their true colors come out once you're gone. Once you're back across the country and your son is now there alone. So these are questions to ask. And when you're playing junior hockey, the billet situation tremendously affects your player. Tremendously. And this is something that gets swept under the rug quite a bit. Teams will just be like, oh, we'll move him into another family, it's fine. And now that other family has too many players and it's not in any better situation. Instead of deciding we'll get a better billet family for the coming year, they keep them. Instead of deciding to take extra precautions to vet their families before taking in players, these are things that teams need to do. Remember, billet families get paid, so it is kind of a job. Now, in most organizations, the billet family is not paid enough for them to make money. It's barely enough to cover the grocery bills, because as you guys know, mom and dad, your hockey player eats the entire fridge on a daily basis. They eat so much food. So the amount of money that you give to a billet family, usually they might make $50, so they shouldn't be in this for the money. A good billet family is in this because they love hockey. They're a huge supporter of the team. Their kids grew up, love watching hockey, whatever it may be. I have a family member who's a billet for the junior majors right now. They have been billets for the past 30 years. Never had any complaints about them. The only actual complaint they had is the player gains too much weight because there's too much food. That's really one of the only complaints they've had. And as mom and dad, you should want to take an extensive look into where your kid will stay to make sure they have the best situation to succeed. The next hush is the blackmailing in junior hockey. Now, we call it blackmailing because teams will hold players hostage in the sense that, well, you signed with me, I'm not letting you go now. You really think that I'm going to put in a good word for you? You really think I'm going to promote you to the next level? It happens at all levels, unfortunately, in all leagues. When you're playing sanctioned hockey and you need to be released or traded to move up within that tier 2 level. Because within tier 2, there is stronger leagues, there are weaker leagues, right? And coaches don't want to lose their best players. So they put in restraints. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not releasing you, I'm not trading you, you're the best player on my team. Now the player might say, you know what, then I'm not going to play. He's not going to perform. He's not going to have a good attitude, be a bad teammate, talk back to the coaches, overall just hurt himself. So this happens amongst player to player, player to coach, coach to player, organization Organization to coach, organization to players. At all stages, this happens. Player to player, you're better than the other guy. You're going to make him feel that way to make sure he doesn't take your spot. Players will belittle their teammates because they don't want them to take your spot. They don't want him to get better. So they try to put him down. This way you secure your spot in the team and your ice time. Player to coach, like I said, player thinks he's better than he is. He wants more ice time, so he starts acting out. He starts making demands. He starts making threats to the coach. Coach to player, same thing. The coach doesn't want to lose this player, so he hides him in the roster, puts him on the fourth line so he doesn't get minutes, refuses to trade or release the player because, well, you know what, you're our best player and we don't want to see you move up. We want to be the one to promote you. We need you. Coach decides not to keep a player. He's cutting him, and he doesn't want to release him anyways because he'd rather have him play in his junior B program than play versus him because he knows he's a good player. There's just no spot for him on the roster. So instead of helping him out saying go play somewhere else, he buries him in the lineup as a scratch or sends him to junior B. Organization to coach. The coach decides, you know what, I want out, or I don't like the way you're doing things, and he starts telling the truth about what's happening in that organization, and the organization blacklists him in the sense that they talk poorly about him. They make sure that he won't get a coaching job anywhere else in the league or other leagues. This happens at all levels. So do your research on a team. When you're about to sign, do your research about who the coaches are, what their reputation is. Talk to players who are on that roster, good and bad. The fourth line guys, the first line guys. If the fourth line guy is happy and enjoying himself, that's a great sign. That is a great sign. It means he enjoys playing hockey and showing up to the rink every day. The last hush I'm going to talk about in this video is the promises. Many organizations make promise that they can't fulfill, and you need to be worried about that. Just because you sign with a team does not mean you're going to get moved up to the next level. Just because you sign in an 𝗏, in the USHL, in the OJ, the CC, NCDC, EHL, you name it, whatever you're looking at, it does not mean you're going to go Division 1. It doesn't even mean you're going to go Division 3, right? There's so many factors that go into that. Kind of family you have, kind of student you are, how well you performed, how hard you work, how consistent you are, how many spots are available at the next level. There's so many factors that are out of your coach's control. Now, it's one thing to say, I promise to do everything I can, and you see the coach calling coaches for you, he's introducing you left and right. That's one thing. But promising a guarantee that he's going to commit you to the D1, he can't give you that. He can't. He can project that he sees you as a D1 guy. That's about it. Promising to give you the best building, unlimited sticks, skates, a car. I've heard of players getting cars to go to a certain place. Certain amount of money. Be careful with that. There's a lot of teams that make empty promises. And you know what? If they keep those promises, good for you. Or if you want those promises and that's the reason you're trying to sign there, get it in writing on a piece of paper, signed, get it, go to a notary and get it stamped. This way it's legally binding and they have to provide everything in that contract. I promise you, if you ask a coach, you want it all in writing in a legal contract, most likely they won't give it to you because there's a lot of it they can't do and there's a lot of it they can't guarantee. I had certain coaches make me offers that gladly I rejected, and it's the best decision I ever made because promises made no sense. They were obscure. They were so ridiculously large and I knew I wasn't worth that much. And I said no. So it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made playing junior hockey is that I said no to these because the promises they made were obscure. They were way too big for who I was. I had no value and they were offering me so many things, and that's how I knew it was a red flag, because if I would have signed there, I probably would have gotten none of it and they probably would have blacklisted me and not played, and who knows what would have happened. So when a coach is promising you the world, if he's not willing to put it in writing, that's a red flag. It's a hush thing that happens that many organizations do to get the top level athletes to sign with them, and once they're signed, they don't owe you anything anymore because he now owns your rights. Now things have changed with unsanctioned compared to sanctioned hockey, and that's part of the reason the unsanctioned exists, is because there's so many things going on in sanctioned hockey that should not be happening, and that's why it's changing the game. But until the time where everybody is unsanctioned or sanctioned hockey changes, these are some of the hush-hushes that'll get swept under the rug, and it'll be too late if you don't do the proper research. When you're stepping into a new organization, you got to do your research. Join AHA Plus Platinum to talk about it, and if you like this kind of video, click one of these two videos because they'll give you more information when you're looking for a new team.